Hi everyone, I'm Ali GREYMOND. We're going to be answering questions about OCD recovery today. This is the questions that people left below my videos. If you would like me to answer your question in the next show, you can leave it below this video or really any of my other videos. I'll pick it up on the next Q&A. So first question is fear of losing OCD. Will I be a good person without it? Will I hurt someone accidentally because I didn't worry enough? And again, you know, with OCD, this is whether you're coming from a position of fear or from a position of power. The mind takes, when you come from a position of fear, to mean that you're in danger. You're in fear means you're in danger. And if you're in danger, that means that the mind has to send you more and more thoughts to try to prevent that danger from occurring, and in various ways, right? So that's why people can get one OCD thought and then get a similar OCD thought or a new detail of that same OCD thought, because the mind is just trying to kind of cover all the angles of the thought to try to protect you in every way, because it's not able to tell the difference between real thoughts and OCD thoughts. It thinks every thought that you react to is a real thought. It's not wired for OCD to differentiate OCD specifically. So because of that, that mechanism of the mind sending you thoughts over and over again will not stop until you stop reacting with fear to these thoughts. So whenever you have an OCD thought, the most important question, or what an OCD situation, the most important question you have to ask yourself is how you are reacting. The nature of the thought doesn't matter, or the theme of the thought doesn't matter, what details of the thought do not matter. All that matters is your reaction. And, you know, I understand that thought itself comes with fear. But when you get that thought and the thought is, you know, oh my God, what if, you know, that comes with fear. And then your response is, oh, that's you now reacting with fear to that original anxiety. Do you know what I mean? So you're upping that fear more so. And you can't do that, because the more you do it, the more these thoughts are going to come in. I know it's difficult to control, but as soon as you realize you're reacting with fear, maybe in the first few seconds, it's almost automatic, you don't realize it. But as soon as you do realize it, you have to choose to refuse. So the anxiety is going to be high, you know, the fear is going to be strong, but you have to step past it and say, okay, you know what? I do feel the anxiety, the fear, the guilt, you know, it feels so real, maybe, you know, whatever the situation may be, right? But I've experienced this in the past, and I'm not going to continue to experience this over and over again every time my mind sends me a new thought. I'm done playing this game. And choosing to step over the fear, refusing to pay attention, even though the anxiety is there. So to give you another analogy, right, what I was saying in my, what I say in almost all my videos is that if you imagine yourself walking down the center of the corridor and there's things kind of coming at you from both sides, but they're coming at you, but they can't reach you because you're walking forward down the center of the corridor. You know, these thoughts can't reach you. Don't engage them. Be parallel to them, but don't engage them by paying attention, viewing the content as valid. You know, when they say accept your OCD thoughts, what they mean, and a lot of people get confused with that. Well, how can I accept my thoughts when they're so horrible and all this kind of stuff, right? It's, you have to accept them as being there. They're there. They exist, right? Then, you know, they're doing studies. They're saying that people, just anybody, right? And a person with OCD or without OCD, a person can have 50,000 thoughts a day. 50,000 thoughts. Some of them are going to be pretty messed up. You know, I can tell you that goes for anybody. So it's seeing that it's a thought. You got a thought, it means nothing about you. Yes, the thought exists, but the content is not valid. So you're accepting the thought, but you're not accepting the content of that thought. You know, you're accepting the content as being false, as being, okay, whatever, it's blah, 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 it said something, you know? I got a thought, I accept the thought, said something, not paying attention to whatever it said, you know, taking it that way, and that way you regain back that power. So you start to come from a position of power rather than from a position of fear when you're trying to explain yourself to your own mind, apologize, or anything like that. That's a very kind of a fear-driven position to be in, you know? So you don't want to do that, because the more you put yourself in that fear-driven position, the more you say to your mind, yeah, this thought is very real to me, it's very valid, please send me more. That's the signal that your mind, when you do these things, and in terms of physical OCD, like physical compulsions, right? When you're doing a compulsion, you're 100% doing it from a position of fear. So I'm so scared, I'm gonna, you know, wash something or clean something or check something or, you know, ask something. It's, you know, you're doing it from a position of fear. Your mind takes it to mean that the thought is valid, will send you more of the same type of thought, and it just, you know, the snowball just continues to grow and grow, you know. And the OCD, you have to understand that OCD is, it's not one of those things that's like a cold, you know, if you just wait it out, eventually it will go away. It's not like that. The level of fear will grow the more you allow it to grow, because that part of the mind is actually wired for real danger. So as long as you keep saying to your mind, yes, the situation is important, yes, it is dangerous, yes, I need to protect myself from it, you know, your mind is going to keep sending that to you, because your mind thinks you're in an actual life or death situation that you need to be protected from. So you have to really focus on what kind of signal you're sending to your mind. The wording of what you're saying to yourself to get yourself in a position of power, it doesn't really specifically matter. It mostly matters the signal behind the wording, you know. And again, I can tell you, you know, I have 8 years of experience, you know, helping people out of this. I have about 80 to 90% success rate, you know, with my clients. And I can tell you that because I've talked to people all around the world from different cultures, different situations, different things that they've done for treatment. I can tell you that, you know, none of it works. If it worked, I wouldn't have any clients. Do you know what I mean? Nobody would come to me because it worked, you know, but it's, you know, I don't see anything else working. And this, as long as you do this every day, day in and day out, exposure response prevention, over and over and over again, it works. You will recover, but it won't work if you don't do it. Do you know what I mean? You can't wait this thing out, you know, you can't wait out OCD, you know, if you don't do anything to make it better, chances are it's going to get worse. Because if you're not refusing reaction, it means, what are you doing? You're reacting with fear, you're getting reassurance, you're checking, you're doing rituals, and those things grow in number, and because the fear grows, you know. So it's, yeah, I find that it's really difficult, you know, to wait, you know, in terms of OCD recovery. Just do it, you know. That's why I do this show, you know. That's why I am here, you know, is because it's, you know, the further you go with compulsions and rituals and mental compulsions and all of that, the harder it is to get out, you know. So, but again, at the same time, you know, it's making a choice and sticking with that choice. And that choice, it's not comfortable. It's not easy to do this work, you know. And, you know, you have to mentally be okay with that. You have to be prepared for hard work. That, yes, this is going to be hard. Yes, it's not going to be pleasant. Yes, you won't get reassurance, meaning the anxiety will still swirl in your mind over and over again. But you just have to keep walking down that middle of the corridor until you recover. It's the same motion over and over again. You get a thought on your theme, freeze your reaction. Anxiety stays, you know. And it's the one thing that kind of helped me with that as well is, and I'll make sure I'll get to the questions as well, but it's just important to say, because I don't really explain enough in every show about all this kind of stuff, is, you know, if you think of your situation right now, and, you know, I'm speaking you as in all of you guys, because, you know, we're, you know, really people who are, you know, recovering from OCD are pretty much all in the same boat. You know, talking to people all day, I don't see much variety. You know, yeah, the situations are different, but really the level of fear is pretty much the same for most people. So, you know, you are now suffering. So if you're suffering and you're getting reassurance, but you're still suffering, why don't we try not getting reassurance? You're still going to feel like you're suffering, but you're actually recovering this way, rather than getting reassurance, getting new thought, getting reassurance, getting new thought. And you're still suffering, but you're just getting these breaks of recovery. Rather than doing that, let's just push through, feel the anxiety, but actually get out of this and recover. And like I said, you do this, you will recover. But if you don't do it, you won't. You know, it's not one of those things that will just happen. You have to put a lot of effort and expect that, especially in the beginning, the beginning is the most difficult, because, you know, you have to look at it from the position of your mind, that your mind thinks there's danger. For a long time, you've been reacting to it as if it's dangerous, a specific situation. Now, all of a sudden, your mind, again, doesn't understand that you're doing recovery work, blah, 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 that this is OCD. It just sees what you're doing, okay? So now, all of a sudden, you're refusing reaction. Your mind thinks that you're refusing reaction to something that is actually dangerous. So what can your mind possibly do? The only thing your mind can do is to send you more thoughts. So that's why in the beginning, people get something that's like like a pummeling effect, you know, where there's just a lot of thoughts coming at you all at once. And some of them just, you know, it becomes to the point where they get really, really silly. And, you know, it's kind of like, how would that even happen? You know, it doesn't even make sense. But the mind is just trying to come up with every possible scenario that has to do with your theme in order to warn you, to get you back, however it can get you back, to get you back into reaction, to get you back into the state of fear. Because, you know, your mind is not viewing that, you know, fear, it's, you know, it's a bad thing, it's hurting you and all of that. Your mind sees fear equals safety. You're in fear means you're getting reassurance, means you're protecting yourself. So do more of that. That's how your mind views it. So it wants you to continue to do the reassurance. And you just have to, in the beginning, it's the hardest time. Just stay strong through this period of time. If you stay strong through it, it won't last that long. But if you kind of do this where sometimes you do it, sometimes you don't, you'll prolong your own suffering, which is something obviously, you know, no one wants to see you do. So it's just getting focused, getting your head in the game, and really kind of pushing through in the beginning the most. As you get the hang of it, and as your mind starts to get more comfortable, because the mind is observing what's happening, right? So it sees that, okay, you're not reacting, and this is, you know, to this ultra dangerous situation as it's learned, right? And after a while, okay, so you didn't react for a week, and yet, look at you, still fine, nothing happened, you didn't die, nothing bad happened. It starts to get more comfortable. Then another week passes, a little more comfortable. And then your mind starts to actually work with you instead of working against you. So it's not a forever situation. It will improve, but there is a time period where it will be difficult. So really preparing yourself for the reality of the situation, and, you know, not, you know, the one thing I never do either, you know, on this channel or with clients is sugarcoating the situation. You know, the recovery work is tough. It works. But you have to buckle down, and you have to be prepared to fight, and it won't be easy, you know, but you do, and you will recover. And that, you know, it's, I mean, it's the one thing with OCD that I find is comforting is that it always really kind of works the same. There's not a lot of variety in how OCD functions. When you do this, it will do that. When you do that, it will do this. It's always very methodical in its operation, which makes it easier to kind of plan the process of recovery. You know, so because you kind of you're one step ahead, and you can see what's actually going to happen next. So that I find is a helpful thing in terms of the recovery. So anyways, getting back, and I just wanted to say all that because it's important for you to recover. It's important to understand how OCD works, and this is kind of just a short overview, but I don't do it in every video, but, you know, I do like to do it whenever I can, because it's important to really understand the recovery process. So again, so when you're saying, getting back to the question, fear of losing OCD, will I be a good person without it? That question in itself, will I be a good person if I lose OCD? What if I do something wrong? I'm not sure. You know, that's fear. You're reacting with fear, and the more you react with fear, the more this thought starts to gain power, the weaker you feel, and the more anxiety comes in. So saying, you know, whatever, OCD is telling me things, it's, you know, saying things, my mind is saying things again, who cares? I'm pushing through, doesn't matter, you know, and going forward with it. It's simply making that choice. It's an uncomfortable choice, but it's a choice that you have to make. And then as you recover, as you get further in recovery, you will actually see that the choice was correct. So next question is, hi Ali, thank you. I would like to say thank you so much for getting me started on the recovery. I've been getting to a point where I only have the thought about 5 times a day. However, my sister brought up a point that has me thinking. My question is, since my OCD is over something in the past that caused me to feel extremely guilty, do I need to get to the core of the cause of the fear, such as forgiving myself, or would this be giving into reassurance? You have to think of it this way. Would anybody else actually worry about it to the extent that you're worried about? I would say no. You know, and this is not because I know your specific situation, but that's because, you know, I hear this kind of stuff all the time, right? So my bet would be on no, right? So if nobody else is going to worry about it to the extent that you're worried about it, then you shouldn't worry about it either, you know? And the forgiving yourself it would be a reassurance thing, because again, you're coming from a position of fear, from a position of, what if I'm a bad person? I have to think about it. I have to figure it out. You don't need to do any of that. This is, you know, I mean, this is stuff I hear all the time. It's hard for me to kind of give you more detail without knowing the situation, but this is a very common question that I get all the time. It's never valid. You know, it's at its worst. A lot of the times, you know, we're all human. We all make mistakes. You make mistakes. I make mistakes. That's fine, you know. But the way you are worried about it, it's kind of like, you know, the proportion is, I can guarantee, pretty much guarantee you, just because I hear so much of it, the proportion is most likely not correct. If you say, take somebody else, would they worry about it? Maybe for a second, but not to this extent, right? So just pushing through, not allowing yourself to come from a position of fear. You know, saying, not getting to the bottom of it, but saying, I made a mistake, so does everybody else. Who cares? I'm moving on. From a position of power, just like that, not from a position of fear. Next question is, I'm struggling with constant suicidal thoughts. I have been suffering from these since last year, since late last year. I've been to the hospital, doctors, I even take an SSRI and antipsychotic. The thoughts have been so obsessive that I literally feel like I am becoming psychotic. I don't want to hurt myself, but I can't shake the thoughts. I try my hardest to choose not to give them meaning, but they are so intense. The only time that they go away is if I start to worry about becoming psychotic, schizophrenic, etc. I guess I'm just curious to know if I need to keep going to work and going about my life as if the thoughts aren't there. I feel really lost. Okay, so basically you do want to continue to go to work and live your life as normal. This is OCD. This, you know, I know it feels like it has something to do with, you know, being suicidal, or what if I become psychotic or schizophrenic. This is all common OCD topics. So you have to go through the fact that, okay, this is OCD, not reacting, living life as normal, and doing exposures. So not avoiding things such as knives, or which is common, you know, with suicidal OCD, or anything that really scares you, not avoiding that because you're having these thoughts. So you're not making any adjustments in your life because of OCD. You're pushing through, keeping going. And again, what I'm saying, from a position of power. Yes, the thoughts are there, but, you know, I mean, I can tell you, in 8 years, I've had so many people with suicidal thoughts. Nobody killed themselves, you know, because this is not the same thing. It's just like you say, I don't want to kill myself, but I'm having these thoughts. That's very different from actual person that's suicidal. Not to give you reassurance, but, you know, this is just OCD playing games, you know. It's not buying into it, making a choice to get your life back and stepping over the fear, you know, and saying, okay, OCD, tell me whatever, you know. I would rather get my life back than, you know, keep going down on, you know, this kind of treadmill over and over again, right? So it's just making that choice. Next question is, I'm suffering from HOCD. Can you please can please anyone advise me how to deal if someone called me gay? Okay, and then next question is, I'm suffering to tell the truth, what if analyzing. Okay, so what somebody can or cannot call you, or what somebody does call you, is really, or what somebody said, what somebody thought, is really none of our business. Who cares what somebody said? You have to focus on your OCD recovery. So anything that has to do with HOCD topics is making you, giving you fear. So you have to understand that this is your theme. It has nothing to do with actually being gay or not being gay. This is OCD. OCD is coming in, you have to refuse reaction. The more you refuse reaction, the weaker this thought you will become, and you will start to see things clearly. Right now it's very strong because you keep reacting, and again, it's, it's, you have to stop analyzing this, because what you're saying here, I'm analyzing what if, all this kind of stuff. The more you do this, the scarier these thoughts will become. They can be on any topic. And then also, if it tries to switch topics, because that happens a lot with OCD as well, it goes from one topic or one theme to another. Again, not giving it a reaction. This is a very, HOCD is probably one of the most common types of OCD. So it's the reaction that really matters, not the thought itself. Next question is, how do you define recovery? Okay, so recovery from OCD means not getting extreme anxiety over these specific themes. Now, if you say, am I going to be, ecstatic 100% of the time? No, that's life. But am I going to have weird thoughts that bother me now? Thoughts that most people don't worry about, most people don't think about? No, you're not going to have those thoughts. So your OCD theme will go away completely. Now, if your OCD theme has to do with, say for example, like things that are kind of commonplace, such as, should I wash my hands? Are my hands dirty? Which it can be an OCD theme, but people in regular life also wash their hands, right? Obviously. So, it's not that you're never gonna, with those types of topics, it's not that you're never gonna think of those topics. But the level of anxiety is not going to be as high. Another good example is relationship OCD. Are you never ever going to worry about your relationship ever in your life? Probably not. That's probably not a realistic thing, if you care about your partner, obviously you care, so you're going to worry from time to time. But is your worry going to reach, extreme proportion to the point where you can't function, or to the point where you feel like you have to do some sort of a compulsion or confess? No. Is your worry going to be something that most people don't even think about? No. So you become just like everybody else, right? You get certain things, you get certain anxieties, certain fears, sometimes you feel good, sometimes you feel bad. But that extremeness that you're experiencing now fully goes away. These thoughts fully go away. Please, I would like to know why sometimes when I'm not feeling very anxious, I get the thought and I choose not to react, but I check my feelings. I know I shouldn't be doing this. No, you shouldn't be doing this. Since I have harm OCD, I see in my calm state, I get a normal feeling of empathy or disgust that I used to have when I didn't have OCD. Now I don't feel anything, and I start feeling badly why I didn't feel empathy, and it scares me because I am calmer. I am in a calmer state. Okay, so with that, again, why are you analyzing this? The more you analyze, the worse this is going to get. And you are analyzing, like you're saying, you're analyzing because you're not fully recovered from OCD. So don't compare yourself to anybody else. So the question is, my mind even starts telling me, why do I even have to Why do we even have to be good people? And what is people being good anyway? Yeah, and again, once you start to get into this conversation with OCD, your mind can really tell you anything. So it's just choosing, like what we were saying in the beginning of the show, right? That you're walking down the center of the corridor and there's blah, blah, blah and blah, blah, blah here. And it doesn't really matter what OCD tells you. Don't engage in this conversation because you cannot outsmart your own mind, because your mind is still you. So you are just as smart as you, you know? So you can't win this argument. Your mind will always have a counter argument to whatever you say. Don't play this game. The only way you can win is by not playing. And by not playing, you're coming from a position of power. False memory OCD can feel so real. It's really eating me up these days. Yes, it's, you know, I mean, with false memory OCD, it always can feel real. Sometimes it can come with an image. Sometimes it can come without an image. Sometimes it can be just a thought. Sometimes you can have, I don't know, a smell, a sense, whatever. You know what I mean? It can come in a number of ways. It always feels real. You always have to choose to disregard. The more you pay attention, the worse this thought, the more real this thought seems. I'm having sensory motor OCD since 8.5 years in different bodily processes. The twist is that now I don't focus on my bodily processes, but the sensory motor OCD happens automatically all the time. According to my doctor, it's due to persistent anxiety. Please give the solution. So when you see, it's basically now on autopilot. So the more you see that happening, the less attention you have to give it. So when you realize, oh, I am paying attention, that's when you stop. And the more you kind of you have to do the exposures for this, right? So when you do realize you're doing something like a compulsion, a ritual, then refusing, and then your mind will learn the new way of handling these thoughts. It's kind of just used to handling them that way. So that's all the questions I have for today. If you would like to subscribe to this channel, please click the subscribe button. If you would like to do the recovery program, all the information is on youhaveocd.com. You can also book through there because I have a booking system now, so it makes it easier, and you can see all the times that I have available, so you can sign up from there. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for supporting this channel. I'll have more videos. If you would like to ask questions, please leave below this video. I'll see you in the next